And we're back. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Free Advice Friday. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys. Looking forward to answering your voiceover business and marketing questions. I know. It's been a while. I'm sorry. I've been very busy. Got a lot of stuff going on. Not going to be able to do it next week because I'm going to be at Mavo. Who's excited for Mavo? Who's going to Mavo? But I wanted to make sure that I was able to get on today, spend some time with you guys, answer some questions, do this Free Advice Friday thing. So looking forward to it very much. Ask some good questions and I'll give some good answers. Dr. Pepper at a conference, regular or diet? Only regular. Only regular. I do like Dr. Pepper cream soda and I do like cherry Dr. Pepper. And I'm very much looking forward to some cherry Dr. Pepper when I'm at Mavo because cherry Dr. Pepper is difficult to get here in Canada. It's not something that we always have. So I will be stocking up a little bit while I'm at Mavo. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So I don't know if you guys have heard or not. Something happened a couple of weeks ago. Something happened that a lot of people thought would never happen. There's a lot of people that are in disbelief over it, but it is in fact true. I did join Voice123. That's right. For the first time in a decade, I am back on an online casting platform, and I fully either credit or blame. We'll see how the situation goes, but I will either fully credit or blame Brad Highland, who I'm currently coaching with. And Brad's an intimidating guy. You know, he presents like this big sweetheart, right? Like this big softy of a guy, and everybody's like, "Oh, Brad, he's a big teddy bear, you know, Santa Claus, whatever." But let me tell you something: you get in a coaching session with that guy, and next thing you know, you're signing up for Voice123, even though you haven't been on the site in a decade. And so that's all I'll say about that. I love Brad, by the way. But yeah, so I did sign up for Voice123. I am documenting the experience thoroughly. I will go into greater detail when a little bit more time has passed. But it has been interesting to say the least. A couple of random observations at this point. So I've been on Voice123 for 2 weeks now. I've had 2 full weeks on the platform. I have seen probably about 110 to 120 auditions come through. About 40% of those auditions I am not even remotely a match for. So a lot of languages and ethnicities has been the biggest thing, right? So I'm not a match for about 40% of them, so I have just deleted them. I would say probably about 40% of them have been closed before I even had the opportunity to get to them. Almost all of my auditions exclusively are coming between 2 and 5 a.m., which is something that a lot of people have said. I signed up at 8:88, by the way, so full disclosure, I signed up at 8:88. So most of my auditions coming between 2 and 5 a.m. on the Eastern time. By the time I get into the studio in the morning, 9 o'clock, I'm usually in the studio after I drop the girls off at school. Most of the auditions have been closed. I started out in the 50th percentile. I have submitted 9 auditions because that's all I've been able to submit. 8 of them have been listened to. I have 3 likes. I'm still in the 50th percentile. Now, again, it's only been 2 weeks, so, I'm waiting. It's still early, but I am tracking a lot of data. I'm tracking a lot of data on the auditions, the number of auditions that I'm seeing per day, whether I'm a match for them, whether they're closed before they get to me. I have not seen, interestingly enough, a ton of low budget global in perpetuity. I've seen a few. I deleted one today, actually. That was $250 for all usage, all global usage in perpetuity. Yesterday, I had 10 auditions come in on the platform. 6 of them were TTS jobs. So, deleted those immediately. One of them was the global in perpetuity job. One of them was for an ethnicity that I am not. So, deleted that one. But anyway, it's been interesting. Here's the other thing. When I signed up for Voice123, I uploaded all of my samples. I took everything off my profile because I legitimately hadn't been on the site in a decade. So I took everything off of my profile, uploaded all new clips. And I went through and did some keywording and stuff like that. Admittedly, I didn't do a great job on keywording. I had a limited amount of time. Really, I was more interested in just getting clips up there. I just wanted to have samples on Voice123. And after a couple of days, I got all my samples up. I put up probably 35 samples or something like that. I was not ranked anywhere in any search on the entire platform that I could find. I did a whole bunch of different searches for different things. My number one demo was my documentary demo. The number one demo that I keyworded was my documentary demo. I did a search for male documentary voice. There was 189 responses or results, including about 14 females. I did a search for male documentary voice, 189 results, 14 females. I did not even show up at all, which was frustrating. So I did get Sam Damiano to do my profile for me. So, now you've spent $888 on the platform, plus you're spending whatever it's going to cost you to have somebody to optimize your profile. But I will say this. After Sam worked her magic on my profile, we uploaded a bunch of additional clips. I had probably got like 45 or 50 clips on there now. Within less than 2 days, I was ranking on page 1, 2, or 3 for almost every search that we conducted. So whatever the heck Sam did, I have no idea. Absolutely incredible what Sam did. So here are a couple of the early takeaways. And like I said, I'll get into this more. I'll probably do a podcast episode on it once it's been a little bit longer, a little more time has passed. I have a little bit more of a frame of reference. But there are a couple of things that I would say as takeaways. I originally signed up for Voice123 in 2008 and did really, really well on the platform for a number of years. I would say I probably made 10 or 15,000 a year at least off the platform every year for a number of years. When I signed up for Voice123, this is how it worked. You had a couple demos, you uploaded your demos, they sent you auditions, you auditioned, and you either booked or you didn't. And that was it. That was it. That was the whole site. Yes, SmartCast was a thing, but there was no such thing as upper percentiles, top 10, top 20, top 30. There was no such thing as audition to like ratio. There was no, like if you audition too much, they'll punish you. Like none of that stuff existed. You uploaded your demos. Based on the demos you uploaded and certain criteria that you set in your profile, they sent you auditions and you either booked or you didn't. And that was it. And that was the site. It's just not the site anymore. And so when I see everybody whining and griping and grumbling and chewing and complaining about the site, I understand some of that frustration. As going through what I've gone through in the last 2 weeks, I totally understand that frustration. I understand the frustration of I spent $888. I started in the bottom. And so in order to be able to get out of the bottom, I have to submit auditions that I can get likes on. But it's really hard to submit auditions to get likes on because when you're in the bottom, you're the last person to see all of the auditions, and the auditions that you see are usually crap. So what am I supposed to submit to get likes on? And so I do find that incredibly frustrating. I'm doing the best I can at this point. To get 3 likes on 8 auditions and still not have moved the needle on my percentage at all is a little surprising to me. So I understand the frustration. But I'll say this. The rules of the game have changed, and either you learn how to play the game by their rules, or, you can sit and cry about it on Facebook all day. The site doesn't work the way it used to. That's it. That's the bottom line. I don't love a lot of it, but I am willing to play by their rules to see whether or not I can make it work. So I paid the $888, got Sam doing my profile for me. We'll see what happens, right? Does it make a difference? I don't know. Too early to tell at this point. The optimization that Sam has done, incredible. The fact that I'm ranking in all these searches now, incredible. Is that going to turn into Direct bookings, that's the hope, is that it turns into direct invites and direct bookings. But from what I've gathered from some of the people that I've talked to, it takes a little bit of time to get to that point. You don't necessarily start getting all the direct bookings right away. Fair enough. So I'll wait and see what happens on that. But I'm not going to sit around and complain about all of the stuff. I'm going to do what I got to do to try to make the site work for me. If you don't like the rules, if you don't like the way the game is played, then just get off the platform and don't gripe about it. Like, that's it. That's all I got for you. I don't love the tiers. I understand you got your elites, right? So they're paying $5,000, and then you've got your 2,200 level, and then you've got your 888 level. So I understand that the elites are going to get access to all the stuff. They're going to get it first. I understand that the 2,200 is going to get it next. I understand that when you're at the 2,200 level, you're going to get access to 80% of the projects that match your voice. This is Voice123's own language. You're going to get, which in and of itself, imagine spending $2,200 and knowing that you're only getting access to 80% of the auditions. If you buy in at 888, Voice123 claims that you will get access to 65% of the auditions that match your profile. I certainly don't think that that's been the case for me yet. But again, still early. But I know that, by the time I get the auditions, there's a lot of times that I'm getting invited in group 7. And there's not a whole lot that I can do about that at this point, other than, be patient, hopefully get some decent auditions, get some likes, maybe get some direct bookings. But anyway, it's been an interesting experience, to say the least. I'm glad that I'm back on the site just because I wanted to get a sense of how it was actually working, because it had been so long. And so I am definitely learning some things. And like I said, I'm taking a lot of notes. There will probably be a future podcast. You're never going to believe this, but next Thursday's episode of the podcast is actually all about voices.com. Get ready for that one. Gina Scarpa comes on the show and we talk about voices.com. And that's going to be, it's incredibly enlightening. There's a lot of people that are going to be surprised by that episode. But anyway, that's what's up with me getting back on Voice123, and that's where things stand at the moment. So I'm definitely learning a lot. What I will tell you is this. If you are not intimately familiar with the optimization process, then even if you think you've done a good job on optimizing your profile, you probably haven't. So I went through and filled out all the boxes that Voice123 asked me to fill out, except for the additional sample details, right? So I chose the languages and I chose the keywords and I chose the sample types. And, I did all the things for every sample. They require you to do it before they'll let you upload the sample. So I had done all of those things and I was like, okay, I did a good job. Yeah, apparently I did a total crap job, like literally total crap job. And within 2 days of Sam working her magic, it was very evident that I had done a total crap job. So if you are not seeing a ton of traction, that is probably part of it. I will tell you that my audition, the auditions that I'm seeing are slowly getting better. Still not a ton of great stuff, but slowly getting better. And I think that is probably directly related to the optimization that's happened on my profile at this point. So if you have not if you're not getting good auditions and you're not getting any direct bookings at all, and you're not showing up in search at all, the profile optimization thing, it's real. Nikki Schwartz offers an option for that. I did a podcast episode with her a few weeks ago. If you haven't listened to it yet, go listen to it. She's genius. She did a report for me on my profile, and it was like, holy crap, like very in-depth report. Catherine and Natasha, Voice123 Pros, V123 Pros, they teach this stuff. Like, does it frustrate me to think, well, I've already spent $888 and now I got to spend another couple $100 on a profile course, or I got to spend another few $100 to get a virtual assistant to do, optimization for me or whatever. Yeah, it's a little frustrating, but that's how the game is played now. And I can promise you that there are a lot of people that are playing the game at that level. And so if you want to be competitive, you got to play the game at that level too. And that's just it. That's the reality of being on Voice123 today. That's the way it works. Take it or leave it. This is Free Advice Friday, Phil. This is supposed to be you asking me questions. I always like to have something to talk about off the start while everybody's getting logged in and give you guys a chance to pop in and get comfy and get your questions put into the chat. But if you do have a question that you would like me to answer, I will certainly answer as many questions as I can here for the next little while. Type a Q in the comments and put your little question. I will watch for it. I will keep an eye out for it. Like I said, I will answer as many questions as I possibly can here on Free Advice Friday. So let me go back and see what's going on. Welcome, Cindy. Welcome, Cameron. Bob, good to see you. Cameron, it's been a while since I last saw you. I know it's been a minute since I had the opportunity to get on here and do Free Advice Friday, so I'm glad to be back. What else is going on here? Flip says you signed up under duress. It's one of these things where I'm working with Brad Highland. I'm coaching for a new commercial demo. I'm going to be doing a new commercial demo with JMC, and I wanted to get some coaching before I did the new commercial demo. I have not seen a ton of auditions from my agents this year. In fact, I would say that the number of auditions that I've seen from my 3 agents is probably down by 50+% this year. So I'm not seeing a lot of audition opportunities there. And for my clients, I don't audition a ton for my clients because most of them just hire me. And so Brad's like, we got to have auditions to work on so that I can see where you're at. And, Voice123 is going to give you auditions, but hey, you'll probably book some stuff too. So I mean, it was hard to argue with the logic. My issue with Voice123 has always been time. I just don't have time for it. It's never been about the site itself. It's been about time and having the time to actually submit the auditions and get to the auditions before it's too late. But Brad talked me into it, so I've done it. So I've got some auditions, so we've got some stuff to work on. So what was it under duress? I mean, maybe not quite under duress, but I did do it very much because Brad told me you really need to do it. I've heard that anything under 888 is wasting money and 888 is barely worth it based on what comes in. I have heard that as well. Here's what I would say to that. It's all about your profile optimization. I really think the more that I get into this, a couple weeks on the platform at this point, the more that seems to be true. Am I going on there expecting that I'm going to make 50 grand? No, I don't think I'm going to make 50 grand. Am I going on there with the realistic expectation that I could make, 10 or 15 in the year that I have my profile? Yeah, I think, realistically, I think that's possible. The audition quality that I'm seeing. So look, first few days that I was on the site, I was getting a ton. Every audition that I got was under $200. Every audition that I got was under $200. After some of the profile optimization and some of the changes that I've made, I'm starting to see most of what I'm seeing now is in the $300 to $600 range. So, I mean, look, that's already an improvement. I'm hoping that because right now I'm still carrying a decent, like I'm a 40% like ratio at this point, which I think is pretty good. So I'm hoping that is going to help as well. If you buy in at $495 and you optimize the crap out of your profile, I think you have a better shot realistically than somebody who has bought in at $888 and has not optimized their profile. So it's not explicitly about the amount of money that you spend. The amount of money that you spend is a factor. Yes, the tier that you buy in at is a factor. And if you get in at $2,200 or if you get in at $5,000, obviously that makes a big difference. But if you're $888 and in the bottom 50%, you're not going to see the auditions. If I understand it correctly, if you're $888 and bottom 50%, you're not going to see auditions like somebody who's at $495 and in the top 20%. They're going to get stuff better. They're going to get better stuff and they're going to get it earlier. So I don't think that that's explicitly true that even at $888, it's not even worth it and that you've got to spend more money to make the platform work for you. But I'm not sure. Bob says, do you ever see low-priced in perpetuity job that you would do? Like they requested in perpetuity, but it seems like a small job, so it's no deal. Non-broadcast, because most of it's in perpetuity anyway, right? Like if I do a corporate video, internal corporate video or a corporate video for a company that's going up on their website, in perpetuity, to me, I know I'm going to get blasted for this from some people, but to me, like, yes, whatever, who cares? The probability that that company is going to leave that video up for till the end of time is slim to none. Let's be honest. Like, they're probably updating their videos every once in a while as well. And so as long as there's no clause in there that allows them to use it for broadcast, if it's just going on their website or just internal in perpetuity or something like that, and they're offering a few $100 for it, I'll submit for that. I will. It's primarily the broadcast and the in perpetuity stuff that makes me nervous is when they're asking for like global usage in perpetuity. And so they want to be able to do everything, right? If you're going to take it and you're going to turn it into web commercials and TV commercials and radio commercials and whatever, then no, I'm not going to do that. But if it's something that's just non-broadcast, depending on what the actual specs are, then I might do that. What auditions are you submitting for specifically? Right now, primarily what I'm seeing is corporate video stuff. Almost everything I'm seeing is corporate. I've had a few commercials that have popped up. I haven't submitted for them because the few commercials that I have seen at this point, and again, still early, the few commercials that I've seen have been mostly in perpetuity stuff. Now, let me add a caveat to that. Because so many of the auditions are closed before I get into the studio in the morning, I am not going back and looking at that stuff. Why? So could there be some decent commercial stuff or could there be some other genres or whatever? It's entirely possible. I don't know because I'm not going and looking at it. But right now, consistently, about 40% of the auditions that I am being invited to are closed before I even get into the studio in the morning. So they come in between 2 and 5 a.m. Eastern. By the time I get into the studio at 9, they're already oversubscribed or they've been closed. I am not going back and looking at the specs on those auditions. And that's just time. I don't have time. Can you rank the genres of what we should go for in terms of direct marketing from best to worst, i.e. e-learning, corporate, narration, ad agencies, production companies, radio, interactive work? No, I don't think I can. I really don't think I can. Because I think that you can make any of those work. I really do think that you can make any of those work. I think that it is... I think the deciding factor is probably more about the talent and the caliber of their demos. So, I could say, hands down, corporate narration. Yes, go market for corporate narration all day long. That's the best one. That's the number one genre to direct market for. But if you have a really bad corporate narration demo, then it's not a good genre for you to market to. On the flip side, if you have a really awesome commercial demo, right, then you would probably do better there than you would do with corporate. And so I think that it is possible to market to, I think it's possible to direct market to any of the genres. And I have, and I do. I market myself for corporate video, explainer video. I market myself for commercial, for e-learning. I'm currently marketing myself for documentary. I market in a lot of different areas. And I wouldn't say that one is better than the other. Would I say that I've made more money in some areas than others? Yes, absolutely. But I would also say that part of that stems from the fact that when I find a genre that's working for me, I tend to double down there. So I went through a stretch, probably about a 3-year stretch, where almost everything I booked was explainer video. I literally branded myself as the explainer guy. Like, I had a website branded the explainer guy. And that's almost all my money was coming from that. And so that's where I focused all of my efforts for that period of time. And then there was a shift and I stopped booking quite as much explainer. And so then I realized, though, that I was starting to book a little bit more e-learning. So then I shifted focus and started booking more e-learning and started focusing more on e-learning. And so I marketed myself there and I made a bunch of money in e-learning. And so I really do think that a lot of it has to do with the quality of your demos, your ability to deliver, and obviously the caliber of marketing and the people that you're reaching out to. I really think that those are important factors. Look at that. Tab actually made it to Free Advice Friday. She actually remembered to show up. Good for you. Good for you, Tab. It's an inside thing. Don't worry. I'm not really making fun of her. Brad Highland is using Nikki's service and has seen a big increase on clients reaching out to him directly on V123. Yes, he has. And Brad and I talked about Nikki. Like I said, Nikki was on the show recently. If you haven't had a chance, I strongly advise you to go back and listen to that one. If you go to VOpreneur, click on podcast. Let's see, where were we? We were a couple of weeks ago right here. Okay, September 4th, cracking the code on V123, how to be found and book more work. So this is the episode with Nikki. So that is right there on VOpreneur.com. It is also available on the YouTube channel, and it is available wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. So look it up if you haven't had a chance to check that one out yet. But yeah, she's smart. Like, dang, she is smart. She literally built a program from nothing. And she's not a coder. She literally built a program that does complete profile audits. And I've seen a profile audit. She did one for me. And it was like, I was sitting there looking at this thing like, holy crap, the level of detail that she gets into. And so Nikki's service is absolutely amazing. I was working with Sam. Sam was Playbook alum, and she's done some work with Brad as well. Sam has worked with Nikki. She's also worked with Catherine and Natasha. She's familiar with all the different methods. But I'm telling you guys, if you want to play that game, if you want to play the Voice123 game, you're going to have to dig in. You're going to have to dig in. I'm not dropping the amount of money that I'm dropping on it because I'm expecting that it's not going to work. So, I mean, we'll see, I guess. A year from now, we'll find out whether I was proven right or wrong. I'm literally having to turn down agent auditions because they are too low of a budget to justify. So that's for on camera. I honestly think that that's part of the reason why the number of agent auditions that I'm seeing this year are just, the number of auditions has fallen off a cliff. And I think that's part of it. I think agents are turning down some of the lower paying work. And so I do think that that is certainly a factor. Your thoughts on whether e-learning will continue to be lessened with clients choosing AI? You know, this is a really interesting one. If you asked me this question a year ago, I would have told you that I did not think it was going to be as big of an issue as what a lot of people were predicting. And I backed that up because I was seeing zero evidence of it in my own work. And my clients were telling me directly that they didn't want to work with AI. I was speaking to a lot of people in e-learning who didn't want to work with AI. And so I was feeling pretty good about it. This year, that has shifted. I'm not going to lie to you. It has shifted. It does not appear to be the actual course developers. So the instructional designers and the e-learning developers that I'm talking to do not want to use AI. They still do not want to use AI. They actually really, really don't like using AI. And they make some very good arguments for why they don't want to use AI. As far as what it does for course engagement and you know, just enjoyment of listening to the course. But it appears to be bottom line decisions that are coming from people who are above their pay grade, right? So whoever's putting in the order for the course is saying, we want to use AI because it's a budget saver and it's quote unquote good enough. We'll see if that becomes more permanent or how long that lasts. I have openly talked about the fact that I lost a $20,000+ a year client this year to AI. And my client didn't want to use AI. And some of the people that he was working with directly didn't want to use AI. But upper management was like, no, it's good enough. And they're looking at the budget savings that they can come up with. Now, you know, do they come back next year and say, well, we saved a lot of money, but none of our employees were actually paying attention to any of the content, and it caused a lot of problems, and it actually ended up costing us hundreds of thousands of dollars? I don't know. I hope. I mean, partly, I hope. But yeah, I don't know. I genuinely thought that, you know, lower end e-learning was probably going to get cannibalized, but the upper tiers of e-learning were probably going to be a little bit more safe. I'm not so sure now. I continue to market there. I continue to have conversations with people. I mean, I picked up a couple new e-learning clients this year, but yeah, I'm not sure. One of the things, and I've talked about this before in other areas, part of what's going on right now, I think, is that it's the shiny new object syndrome, right? AI is still very new. Companies are spending billions on AI, literally billions of dollars are being spent on AI infrastructure, and they have to justify it somehow. And so there are a lot of people that are like, I don't want to get left behind. I don't want to, our shareholders are demanding and blah, 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 blah. And last year, the joke was they play a drinking game during any quarterly report, any quarterly earnings report, and take a drink every time somebody mentioned AI, and you'd be hammered within the first 2 minutes of the quarterly earnings call, because that was the thing. Like, AI was the buzzword. Everybody had to fit it in. Even if they had no AI strategy whatsoever, somehow they had to make it sound like they had an AI strategy, because if they didn't make it sound like they had an AI strategy, the day after their quarterly earnings call, their stock was going to drop. And that was real. And it was crazy, but it was real. So you got a lot of places that are feeling like they've got to try it. You've got a lot of places that are like, it's the shiny new object, let's experiment, blah, blah, blah. Is there going to be a certain level that are going to adapt on a more permanent basis? Probably. Is there going to be a certain level that are going to say, okay, that didn't work. Let's call up the humans again? I think so. I hope so. Maybe I'm just, maybe that's just the optimistic Canadian in me, but we'll see. Do you discuss it with them if you see in perpetuity auditions, or skip it altogether? I don't discuss, like, who am I going to discuss it with? I will say I've reached out to Voice123 support to ask a question about my profile, and that was 2 weeks ago, and I never got a response. So I'm probably not going to discuss anything with them. Apparently they don't answer. I'm not going to submit an audition for one and try to put it in my profile, because nobody's going to read that either. So for me, at this point, if I see an audition like that on Voice123, and again, time is a factor for me, so I'm literally just dumping that stuff. I'm just dumping it because I don't have time for it. If you guys do have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, by all means, please put it in the comments. I just ask if you type a Q before you type your question. That way it makes it a little bit easier for me to find it. It stands out on the chat a little bit. And certainly going to try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. Liz says, by optimizing with Natasha and Kate's info and what I auditioned for, I'm consistently between top 10 and 20% on V123. But yeah, it was a lot of work tagging, optimizing to get there. Yeah, and that's it. Not everybody's willing to do the work, okay? That's the bottom line. Not everybody's willing to do the work. If I was not in a position, and look, full transparency, right? I always try to be honest with you guys. If I was not in a position to work with Sam to do my profile, it wouldn't get done. It just wouldn't. I don't have the time for it. I don't have the interest in it. I don't have the expertise for it. My profile would not have got optimized. I would not do well on the platform in all probability, and I would have nobody to blame but myself. I'm not going to blame Voice123. It's their site. It's their rules. They can tell me how to play their game however they want, and I could choose whether or not I'm going to play the game. I am grateful that I was in a position where I could go to Sam and say, hey, can we work something out here? So that's the only way that mine was getting done. It is not easy, okay? I mean, it wasn't for me anyway. Maybe it is for somebody else. For me, it was not easy, but it needs to be done. It needs to be done. That is how the game is played. What is your best advice on marketing yourself via social media? Do you think you focus more on your VO acting capabilities, your passion, or a mix? For me, it's character, VO, and comic book content. I'll tell you the number one thing, I'm going to say two. There's two things that I'm leaning into heavily right now. Number one is creating the type of content that I want to narrate. So that's why I do my docu-shorts. That's why I have an entirely separate YouTube channel, separate from this VOpreneur YouTube channel. I have my Marc Scott VO YouTube channel. And that is dedicated strictly to creating these docu-short videos, because that's the kind of content that I want to ultimately voice. So I am using social media as a distribution platform to create the type of content that I want to work on. And my thought process is that if I can create enough of that content and establish a bit of a following with that content and get eyeballs on that content, ultimately there are going to be some people who are going to see it and will hopefully want to hire me for it. Added bonus, by the way, something that I hadn't even thought of, and full props to Sam for this. I have all these docu-shorts that I've created now, probably, 50 or 60 of them maybe on my channel. And Sam said, well, why don't you grab audio from all of those and let's put them up on your Voice123 profile? And so I did. I grabbed, 15 clips from those docu-shorts, and I was able to use those as additional clips for additional keywording on my Voice123 profile. But social media, so strategy one, use it to create the content that you want to narrate. So if you want to do gaming, use it as a platform to create and showcase your character and gaming skills. Second thing that I'm doing, and this has always been part of my strategy, how can I add value? Very seldom will you see me post something on social media asking directly for voiceover work. In most cases, you will see me either showcasing the type of work that I do or want to do, or see me trying to add value to my audience in some way. And that can look like a lot of things, just to be clear. Adding value can be teaching somebody something. Adding value could be sharing something that you've learned because maybe they'll learn something too. Adding value could mean making somebody laugh or smile or lightening their day in some way. But those are the types of strategies and the type of content that I'm leaning into right now. It's just constantly trying to think about how can I add value. Tony says, when the cards fall, they will hopefully see the reality and return to true human connection. You know, Tony, I think it's really interesting, and obviously this is on a small sample size basis, but I have a 17-year-old daughter. I have a 13-year-old daughter. And our house often tends to be a landing pad for, you know, the girls come home at lunch and bring their friends and all of that sort of stuff. And I've had some conversations with some of these kids, and they hate AI. They hate it. Like, some of these 17-year-olds that I'm talking to are not using social media or have greatly reduced their usage of social media because it's all AI content now. And they're not interested. They're just not interested. And I think that's very telling. I don't think that we make it go away. I don't want it to go away. I think AI can be an incredible tool. I think it can be an incredible resource. But I do think that we will find boundaries. I do think that we will find lines where we will and won't cross. I think that there are major trust issues with AI. I think we are, and I don't think that's just with the younger generation. I think that's across the board. I think we're all, how many times a day do you see a video, regardless of platform, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever? How many times a day do you see a video and question whether or not it's real? Now, put yourself in the position of the chief marketing officer for a major brand, and you've just used AI to create your company's commercial. And now you have eroded trust with your buyers or potential buyers because they're questioning whether or not it was fake or real or misinformation or whatever. That's problematic. And that's where I say I think a lot of companies will try it just to say we tried it. I think they will try it because it's new and they're trying to look cool and they're trying to look cutting edge and they're trying to stay on with whatever's trending right now. But I do think, and again, maybe I'm naive, I do think there comes a point where they're like, you know what, this is, the risk here is not worth it. You know, like there's not enough upside, because if we erode trust, then what do we have? Like I said, that might be naive, but I'll tell you, more and more, those are the types of conversations that I'm having. Yeah. Kristen says, my daughters hate AI too. Tony says, my kids hate AI too. Mike says, that's why I don't want to go to TikTok anymore. I can't stand social media. It's 95% AI slop. This is what I'm telling you. And at some point, somebody realizes that. Look, Facebook is not a video platform. It's an advertising platform. TikTok is not a video platform. It's an advertising platform. Instagram, not a video platform. It's an advertising platform. If your users drop off, your ad revenue will probably follow. And if your ad revenue starts to drop off, you have a bottom line problem. If people stop using these platforms or reduce the amount of time that they are spending on these platforms because of all the AI slop, and that ultimately impacts ad revenue, rest assured something is going to be done. They're going to change the rules. I mean, we've already seen it on YouTube. YouTube wasn't expressly demonetizing channels that were AI slop, but they were going to start monitoring it more closely because nobody wants the AI slop. It's not what people are signing up for. And YouTube is starting to figure that out. And rest assured that if YouTube has figured it out, Meta is not going to be far behind. And they're going to make changes with Facebook, and they're going to make changes with Instagram. TikTok will not be far behind, and they will make changes with their platform as well. So I don't know. I don't know how it ultimately plays out. I wish that I had a crystal ball and I could say this is how it's going to go. But I definitely think it's been interesting because I think the way that it is going right now is not specifically how everybody thought that it was going to go. Colin says, could you post a link for your DocuShort channel, please? Oh, as a matter of fact, I can. There it is. It's Marc Scott VO. Today's, if you haven't watched it yet, look at this. The 1,000-year history of Halloween, why we celebrate Halloween. So there's that channel. Anyway, that's the channel if you want to check it out. The link is in the chat there. So what else do you guys want to talk about? New episode of the podcast is out, by the way, How Monsters Get Their Voices. Guys, let me tell you, this episode is worth watching. This episode is worth watching. I know a lot of people enjoy listening to podcasts on the go. You listen to it in the car or whatever, and obviously it is still available to do that way. But when Sebastien is like mid-sentence and all of a sudden he goes into one of his voices and you can just see the way his physicality changes, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. It was such a fun interview to do. And let me tell you, the work that Sebastien is doing through the Monster Factory is absolutely incredible. If you have any interest at all in the character and gaming space and monsters and creature sounds and all of that sort of stuff, wow, what an interview. So much fun to do that one, have that conversation with Sebastien. So that's a new episode of the podcast that is available now. It came out yesterday. So that's all the platforms, wherever you enjoy fine podcasts. Speaking of YouTube, Mike says, would you say now is the best time to start or restart a YouTube career with the amount of competition that is out there? I don't know that there's ever a good time or a bad time, Mike. I think it's just a question of, are you committed? I really think it's a question of, are you committed? There are rules to the game of YouTube, just like there is with anything else. And I will admit that I have not figured out all of the rules yet. But there are people that are out there that can help you with some of that stuff too. Hunter Peterson has done just crazy things. And honestly, that guy just makes me sad sometimes because like Hunter, I feel like Hunter could go out this afternoon and start a brand new YouTube channel and have 1 million views by tomorrow. Like for real. I actually think that. I think he actually has done that a couple of times. Meanwhile, I'm over here. I've been posting videos for 6 or 7 months now, and I've barely racked up 100,000 views in total. But at the same time, 100,000 views is 100. That's 100,000 people that have seen my content and heard my voice that would not have heard my voice if I hadn't created the videos in the first place, right? And so there's value there. I think there's value there. Let's see, what else? See, if I did TikTok, it would literally be me doing voices, showing my process in the booth, Audacity tips, etc. Why not? Why not? You know what? One of the comments that I have seen multiple times on my content that I'm sharing on my channel right now, my DocuShort content, is how refreshing it is to see a human voicing. And if you notice, the reason why I shot the videos that I did and the way I did, and I have been told, just to be clear, I have been told that if I did this differently, I would probably have better luck. But if you look at all of my videos, the upper, 25% of the screen is me. I did that on purpose because I want people to see that this is a human telling the story. And so all of my videos have been done that way. All of my shorts have been created that way with me on the screen. I have been told that if I didn't do that, that if I just had visuals on the screen, that I would probably get more views. And I understand there's an argument to that. But at the same time, I want people to see that it's human. I've had people comment about how nice it is to see a human. I've had people comment about, every once in a while they see me moving my hands or making a facial expression or whatever, and how fun they think it is. It's that peek behind the curtain, right? That kind of lets people see about this mysterious thing that we do. And so that's why I created the videos that I created. So, why not? If you can do that on TikTok, why not? You got nothing to lose. I think nothing to lose, potentially major upside to gain. Tab says, I really liked it. I haven't heard of him before. It's kind of wild how we talk about stuff he used to do that I used to do all the time. Sebastien is a really fascinating guy, and the niche that he has been able to carve out for himself through the Monster Factory is incredible. And his YouTube channel, I mean, holy mackerel. If you are interested in that kind of voiceover at all, just go to his YouTube channel. You could, the amount of free content and the quality of the free content that he gives away on his YouTube channel is insane. The Monster Factory. Look it up. Cindy Burns. How in the world does Sebastien recover from that? My voice is gone just from following along. And that's it, right? That's part of what he talks about, is the training that he has gone through in order to be able to learn how to use the different aspects of his voice and using it in a safe way. You heard the guy say he's been doing this stuff for 20 years or something like that. And he has never missed a session in 20 years due to an issue with his voice, like vocal stress or fatigue or anything like that. And that comes from learning how to properly use your instrument. Are you doing all the video editing yourself, or do you have an assistant? Right now, for all my docu-shorts, I'm doing everything myself. So I signed up for an Envato subscription. Envato is a place where you can get stock videos, stock photos, stock music, etc. So I'm using that to source the clips, and then I am editing all of the videos myself in Adobe Premiere, which I get with my Creative Cloud subscription. So yes, right now it is me. I have looked into hiring other people to do it. Here's the interesting thing, though. I've had conversations with several different freelancers, and they only want to use AI. As soon as I explain to them that I'm a human voice actor, they're like, oh, no, we don't do that. We only work with AI. And I'm like, no, you're literally doing the same thing. You just don't need to create the AI voice. You just need to add the videos. We only work with AI voiceover. Okay. So for now, I continue to do it myself. What else, guys? What other questions can I answer for you? What do you want to talk about on Free Advice Friday? A couple of weeks ago, I simulcast on YouTube and LinkedIn, and actually had quite a few people join live on the LinkedIn platform, but I could not figure out how to get the comments to sync with the streaming software that I'm using. I have still not solved that problem, but I'm working on it, because I might do that again at some point. Put it up in both places, but for now, here we are, live on YouTube. Time is it? 1:48 on the East. I could stick around for another 10 minutes or so. Toronto Blue Jays are going to win the World Series. Very excited about that. Yes, I'm obviously a Boston Red Sox fan, but I have been a Toronto Blue Jays fan for most of my life. I was a huge Blue Jays fan in the 90s when they won the World Series. I had CIBC, which is one of the big banks in Canada. They had a whole series of posters. My entire room was plastered in Toronto Blue Jays posters. So I remember, I watched Joe Carter hit the home run, like all of those moments. And so I'm reliving part of my childhood. It's actually fun because I was 14 I think the last time the Blue Jays won the World Series, and I've been watching all of the ALCS games and so far all of the World Series games with my 13-year-old daughter. And so it's really fun to, feel like a full circle moment almost. But I don't know if they're going to win tonight. Yamamoto is very good, scary good. But we have momentum in our favor, and we are back in Toronto, which is in our favor. I was looking at World Series tickets. My wife told me no. The cheapest World Series ticket that I could find was like $2,000, and that was like a general admission standing room only seat. Just insane. But yeah, my wife told me no. She said I was not allowed to do that. So I guess I will be watching from the couch. So trick-or-treating officially over by 8 o'clock Eastern in this household, because I will be sitting on the couch with a bag of chips. Well, actually, I'll probably be sitting on the couch with some of my kids' Halloween candy and a Dr. Pepper, ready to watch the Blue Jays hopefully win the World Series tonight. All right, let's see. What else? Okay, you probably get this one a lot, but cold marketing emails. What's the basics? Also, as a Twins fan, pulling for the Jays because of the former Twins on the roster. The Jays are the underdog. I think everybody's secretly pulling for the Jays. Let's be honest. Basics of cold email marketing. This is my most important rule. You should only be able to send your email to one person. If you can copy and paste your email and send it to more than one person, then you do not have a personalized marketing email. You have a generic, boring, probably AI generated email, and it doesn't work. You should not be able to send a marketing email, an introductory email. You should not be able to send it to more than one person. And if you can, it's not personal enough. That's my number one rule. Honestly, that is my number one rule. What survival jobs are good to have that can give you some free time to do VO while making the transition from part-time to full-time? I work, well, Sam is with VA for VO. So Sam is currently getting herself set up for a full-time voiceover career. And in the meantime, she's been working with VA for VO as a virtual assistant. So she's working as a virtual assistant for other voice actors, which keeps her inside of the industry, gets her access to insider information because she is inside of the industry. So she's learning the ins and outs of the industry that she's moving into, doing it for other voice actors, successful working voice actors, and making some decent money doing it. So that might be something that you want to think about is, could you be a virtual assistant for some other voice actors and use a platform like VA for VO to get access to those opportunities, doing their marketing or doing their social media or, whatever it is, doing editing for them, depending on what they're looking for. But that might be something that's worth looking into. All right, let's see. What about Nimble Sequence follow-up emails? Yes. Okay. So we're talking about how you got to have a deeply personalized introductory email. With the follow-up emails, my strategy for that has been to get very genre specific. So I have multiple follow-up sequences. If I reach out to an eLearning lead, I send them that very personalized introductory marketing email, and then they go into a follow-up sequence. But that follow-up sequence is exclusive to eLearning. So everything that I talk about in those subsequent messages are all going to be strictly relevant to eLearning. So that makes the email feel a little bit more personal, even though those follow-ups are a little bit more generic. And so that is the way that I have been able to work around that. It's not perfect, admittedly, but at the scale that I'm at, it's just not. My choice is either I do something like that so that I can automate my follow-ups and streamline my workflow a little bit, or I just don't send my follow-ups because I have too many things going on, too many people to reach out to, too many follow-ups to send on a given day. I would rather take the trade-off. I would rather have a somewhat generic but still personal follow-up sequence than not have the ability to do any follow-up at all. All right. 154. Who's got the final question on Free Advice Friday? If you've got one more question that you would like to ask and get answered, by all means, feel free to type it into the comments, put that Q beside it. If I missed your question, I apologize. I certainly wasn't trying to miss any questions, but if I did miss your question, by all means, type it again, and I'll certainly try to get to it. Sometimes when the chat gets popping and I'm answering questions, sometimes I miss one. I'm certainly not trying to. Take a quick look back here and see if I've missed anything, but I've got time to do maybe one more before I got to jump out. Again, check out the latest episode of the podcast and get yourself ready for next week. Next week's conversation with Gina Scarpa on voices.com. Let me tell you, it's going to blow some minds. Very unexpected episode. At least from coming from me, I think a lot of people will think that it is a very unexpected episode. I would not say that it is a controversial episode, but I think there will probably be some others who will think that it's a controversial episode. Who do you recommend for demo production? Good question. I think to a degree, it depends possibly on the type of demo that you want to create, but I can tell you I have personally done demos with J. Michael Collins, which have been fantastic. I have done demos with Anne Ganguza, which have been fantastic. I did a demo where Tom Pinto was the director, Uncle Roy was the producer, which was fantastic. Actually award nominated. I know Dave Walsh produces amazing demos. I know the Demo Dream Team produces amazing demos. Those are just a few of the names that are worth looking into. One thing I will say is your demo is really your number one marketing tool. Demos are pricey. Not going to deny it. A good quality, professionally produced demo, particularly in a broadcast genre, commercial, promo, things of that nature, probably going to run you around $2,500. In a non-broadcast genre, maybe $2,000, $2,200, somewhere in there. Can you get cheaper demos? Yes. Are they all bad? No. Are a lot of them bad? Probably. Right or wrong, the reality of the situation is if you are out there and you find somebody that's willing to do your demo for $500 or, $700 or $1,000 or whatever, it might be an okay demo. But if it can't stand up against the $2,500 commercial demos that are being produced by some of the people that I just mentioned, then you're starting at a disadvantage. Right or wrong, it's the way the world works, right? If there's 1,000 voice actors out there competing for work and 500 of them have demos produced by top demo producers and 250 of them have demos produced by next tier demo producers and 250 of them have, self-produced demos or whatever, the 500 are probably going to book the vast majority of the work. It's just the way it is. Because they've got the best sounding demo, which gives them the best opportunity to represent themselves, which makes them look like the best when they are reaching out and marketing. Keep in mind, I do not sell demos, so I have nothing to gain by giving you this information. I'm just saying that that's it's about how the game is played. So my JMC demo, it's made me money. My Anne Ganguza demo, it's made me money. The award-winning or the award-nominated demo rather that I produced with Uncle Roy and Tom Pinto made me money. So something to keep in mind. Chuck Duran, somebody just mentioned Chuck Duran. Tab just mentioned Chuck Duran in the comments. Yes, Chuck Duran, also another very reputable producer. I would say that before you reach out, before you put your money down, before you hand your credit card over, I would certainly want to be looking at who else has this person produced demo for. And can you reach out to any of those people? Can you talk to them about their experience? Can you find out about the demos that they've created? Certainly a way to do some vetting. But looking at some of those staple names, there's a reason why they are the staple names, right? There's a reason why when the conversation comes up, people like JMC, Anganguza, Dave Walsh, Chuck Duran, Demo Dream Team. There's a reason why these people's names come up over and over and over and over again, because they're producing really awesome demos. Tab just mentioned about audiobook demos. Sean Allen Pratt would be a name that would come up there. Scott Brick would be a name that comes up there. So, there are options. There are options that are out there. All right, everyone. Thank you for hanging out. I got to get going. I got some stuff I got to get doing. I got some sessions this afternoon that I got to get into as well. But thank you for hanging out for Free Advice Friday. I will not be live next week because I will be at Mavo. Hopefully, I will see you at Mavo. If you haven't got your ticket, it is not too late to sign up and go. I love that conference. Val does an amazing job with Mavo. Puts on a really great show. Nice, small, intimate conference. More time to have conversations with people, which is one of the things that I love. So catch me in the hallway, or I'm going to have a table set up there as well. You'll be able to stop by and catch me at the table. I may or may not have it stocked with Dr. Pepper, but looking forward to seeing you guys at Mavo as well. So make sure you check that out. Get your ticket if you haven't done it already. Okay? Thank you. Have fun trick-or-treating tonight. The dad tax is real. You don't have to feel guilty about it, no matter what anybody says. And just remember, 8 p.m. Eastern, your responsibility at that point. Halloween is over. It's time to watch the Blue Jays win the World Series. Okay? That's it. That's your mission. Okay? Whatever you decide to do this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and as always, go find some leads.